Hello, I'm E,
I'm Dee.
D and E. And today we're going to talk about Travis Scott. T. Scott, that's what I call him. And basically, we know all these things that have been going on with Astroworld. Things that happened back in 2021. So he was currently facing criminal charges related to the deaths that took place. But A Texas grand jury determined that Scott, as well as the workers and organizers, were not to be criminally charged or held responsible for the crowd crush that occurred that night. So,
Mhm.
just to recap, there was an Astro World Festival in Houston in 2021. It took the lives of 10 people, thousands were injured. The people that passed away, basically it was compression asphyxia, which the medical examiner described as the pressure from a large crowd at the event was so great that it quickly squeezed all the air from their lungs.
That's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. Like I said, thousands of people were injured. You know, there's civil suits currently pending, but there's gag orders that prevents the parties from talking about, what's going on in the cases. And The lawsuits are for Travis Scott, the concert organizer, which is Live Nation, and they're suing them for negligence. Scott issued a general denial of the claims in 2021 and asked for multiple suits to be dismissed.
Whew, that's a lot. And this was 2 years ago now. It's crazy. I mean, I can see why the grand jury decided not to bring criminal charges. This is definitely a civil matter. Um, but I'm sure that none of this really brings any kind of closure or anything to the families that lost loved ones, to any of the victims that sustained injuries. This is all, probably still very fresh to them. So overall, it's a very sad situation. I don't think there's any way around it. I think Travis Scott has tried to like, make amends in some ways. But there definitely should be something, done and some party held responsible for how things went down. But it's all very tricky, I think. Ultimately, I can't say like, oh, Travis was at fault. I don't really think that he was. Um, but, all these years, I think that's kind of been hanging over him. It hasn't gone
Yeah,
away.
so many like sponsorships and,
Hmm.
a lot of things that, with the lawsuits and things, I'm sure a lot of money and, not that that's important in the grand scheme of things. But money wise, as in, people passed away and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, Scott's attorney, Kent Schaefer, said in a statement that the rapper was not criminally liable as he did stop the show 3 times and he was unaware of the events that were unfolding.
Yeah, I mean, in those sort of like festivals, concerts, and things like that, I think it's not so simple where you can just immediately see like what's going on, absolutely everywhere, right? Like there's lights, but it's not like there's lights all over the crowd. So there's only so much that an artist I think can do. Obviously stopping the show, that's good, that's helpful. But on the ground you have security, you have all these different measures that are supposed to be in place to kind of like prevent some of these things, but I think there's levels, right? Like, at what point are we saying, okay, well, security should have done something? At what point are we saying, oh, well, the venue should have had some kind of better, situation to prevent this from happening? Like, there's a lot of different layers to it. And to kind of like, prove any criminal intent, I don't think there really was a way to do that, which is why, there was no criminal charges done. Civilly, of course, anybody's entitled to do that, and there's those are, I'm sure, are going to continue for some time. I think it's just overall like it's a difficult, thing to kind of go through. I mean, how do you really like know exactly what's going on, everything that people are doing because you're performing, right? Like So you're supposed to simultaneously be paying attention to exactly what's going on with every different person in the crowd. I think that's a little difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there should have been a criminal case for this at all.
Yeah.
I am sad that this happened at a concert, but I think that there's just a lot of things to take into consideration. I
Right.
think probably no one at fault or everybody's at fault.
Right.
And that includes everybody. I've been to concerts, dozens of concerts, and I've seen, the things that are going on. So, are the venues where they're selling, liquor, responsible for, giving out, XYZ amounts,
Yeah.
to the crowd, that could have contributed to, the senses and
Hmm.
their reactions or how inebriated were they, kind of things. Can we blame the security? Should they have been had like, XYZ plus more,
Yeah.
for the crowd, for the kind of environment that was going to be? Should have Live Nation done more as the organizers? They've been,
Right.
they host all these different like events,
Events. Yeah.
whether it's rap or other, other events. Could it have been, the concert goers themselves? I've gone and people are,
A little
smoking.
crazy.
People are
Hmm.
smoking. They're relaxed,
Yeah.
Not me though. I don't do that. But it's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
Could that have contributed to, XYZ? Um, the concert goers, that they have also like underlying health conditions, obviously I'm not trying to, shame the concert goers,
Yeah.
I know people passed away, it's just like a variety of things that could have contributed. And it's all different probably for
Right.
all the people that passed or were injured, like all the different circumstances
Yeah.
that could have contributed to, everything that happened. So I don't think there's a clear cut, you're at fault kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then as a celebrity, I don't think that he's at fault per se because, if I'm hiring, security and Live Nation and all this, there are companies that are specialized to do XYZ. I'm there to perform and provide a good time.
Right.
Civilly, of course, get all his money. He could ask Kylie for it. He could go bankrupt. That's
Yeah.
cool. Money is not going to bring back your loved ones. It
Right.
does with funeral expenses, maybe, seeking therapy, things like that
Yeah.
for just life in general. If you lost a provider, or whatever other circumstance, I understand, you know,
Yeah.
but criminally, I don't think anybody expected something like this to happen.
Right.
It's a very unfortunate event. But I think this does set a precedent, for future
Oh
concerts,
yeah.
to have, adequate security, adequate measures to, be a little more proactive and responsible and make sure that everybody's there safe and having fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even right after the events of Astroworld, there were a lot of performers who made sure that they stopped their show if they noticed something, and so like that's that's I guess one of the ways in which you can kind of help out, Um, but but also like I mean there's I think an overall general responsibility with oneself, right? Like I mean, I'm not going to be, going to a specific sort of concert, like, for example, a Travis Scott concert where I know they go all out, they go crazy, there's a lot of like pushing and shoving and everything. I'm not going to go in the middle of a concert like that and be in an area where I think something might happen to me, It's like I don't know, there's you got to be cautious yourself, Yes, of course, if you want to go after the person civilly, whatever, that's within your right. But I think there's also a lot to be said for concert goers themselves, like I'm not gonna go and get wasted at a concert, like you have to have things in moderation, I would think.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different layers to all of it, and it's really hard to kind of like pinpoint really, any kind of real way to say, well, if this person did this, this wouldn't have happened, because you can say that about so many different things. So, you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure that for now, like because of the gag orders and everything, Travis can't speak on his own behalf. Um, but I'm thinking that he might, like one day soon, like say something, because this has been something to like kind of stain his career. I don't really think that much has gone on for him. I know he still has the Nike collabs and all that, which are still very popular. But I mean, even just a few days ago, he had a concert, I believe in Milan or somewhere in Italy, where it was so crazy that it caused a mini earthquake. Like, that's insane. So,
When I read the headline, I thought it was like a hyperbole. I didn't, it was it
yeah,
a real mini earthquake? Like,
that is what it's being reported. Yes.
oh,
Which, that's insane, right? Like, I mean, come on. So again, can you say Travis Scott incites this sort of behavior? Sure. Can you also say that people need to be responsible for themselves? Definitely. So it's again just way too many layers to all of it.
yeah. And I think probably, I know there were kids in
Yeah.
some of the, deaths in there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, they weren't drinking or doing things like that.
Right.
That's just unfortunate in itself.
Definitely.
So I don't know. It's just, that situation is probably wrong place, wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it sucks. I mean, obviously
Definitely.
there's no clear cut, like I said, but I do agree, kind of, we need to blame, for some resolution or feel like you got to go on. Sometimes you want a party to blame, but I just don't.
Right.
I've been thinking about it for like, I don't know, 2, 3 days. I'm like, who do I blame? Like, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
can't, I would think the organizers, in my opinion,
Yeah.
but
That's like a primary.
the Texas jury said no. Actually, the Harris County District Attorney said it's tragic that 10 innocent people were killed while trying to enjoy an event of music and entertainment, something many of us do routinely and without second thought of our safety. But this
Right.
tragedy isn't always a crime, and not every death is a homicide. The grand
Mhm.
jury's determination will have no impact on the many civil lawsuits pending.
Yeah. And like I said, those civil lawsuits are going to continue pending. It's going to be a while. I mean, obviously Live Nation I think has money to cover. Travis Scott has money to
Insurance,
cover.
yes.
Yeah, insurance is everything, all of that. So there's different avenues in which people can settle. Um, but I mean, yeah, unfortunately things happen the way that they did, and there's no real way to kind of like change any of that. And and maybe the only positive change that can come is just like finding ways to prevent any future scenarios similar to that, or any even any future tragedy. So hopefully that's something that can happen, but we'll just have to, I guess, wait and see.
Yeah, obviously we're, devastated that something like this happened. Our condolences to the families. One thought that I did have, and many of these articles didn't mention it, when it first happened, I saw that, people wanted to sue Drake for being there. They
Yeah.
wanted to sue Apple Music. They wanted to sue 10,000 things. Um, without knowing, what was happening
Yeah.
as the events were unfolding back in 2021. I thought that, it was just so sad that people, to me, were like reaching,
Yeah.
just it seems so like what's the right word? Almost a little like greedy, like you're trying to like be on the come up. Obviously,
Yeah.
this is aside from all the deaths that happen in the civil suits, which I totally agree,
Right.
get what you need. But I didn't like that, Of course, Drake is like
Yeah.
the people that I like a lot. But, just suing Apple Music, like was Apple Music even there? Like I don't know. Like at this
Yeah.
point, Drake was a
Um,
feature. It wasn't even his event.
no, it really wasn't. I have two thoughts on that. One is that like America's a very litigious nation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then the second thought is that usually, in a plaintiff civil suit, they're going to name absolutely everybody they can name. Like
Yeah.
if you're in close proximity, we're gonna name you. And because at the end of the day they can be non-suited out, and then it's fine, no big
Hmm.
deal, right? But I mean, yeah, the headlines are, oh, Drake is getting sued, Apple Music's getting sued, and it does come off looking as though people are trying to come up, as though people are trying to just like, do a cash grab. That's what it comes off looking like.
Hmm.
But I'm fairly certain that it wasn't necessarily the actual plaintiffs, the actual victims that requested that. It probably most likely came from their, civil lawyers, because, they just figure, okay, well, and then the other thing, like specifically with Apple Music, not necessarily Drake, Apple Music having connection to Travis Scott, to, Live Nation, all these different things, it could be like, okay, well, we weren't at fault, but they can name, a responsible third party or a responsible, party in general. So you kind of get that sort of information when you add these
Yeah.
different parties to a suit. And that's, I think, where that came from. But it gets so misconstrued, with the headlines, that it does look like people are just trying to like cash grab. But I'm thinking it's more along the lines of like, no, it's just how civil cases go. Sometimes you gotta like kind of name everybody you can.
Yeah, you're in the legal world. I believe you. What you say. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Travis Scott. Again, we don't think he should have been criminally charged, but there
Yeah,
are suits pending. So, I'm sure he'll be fine at the end of the day. There's
yeah,
insurance. I'm sure he that has like 10,000 LLCs at this point,
right.
protects, S corps, all these things that protect his money,
Yeah,
our condolences to the family, and I hope
yeah.
you guys are doing better. I know
It's
you know,
tough.
it's tough. It's not something you will ever get over or could quickly get over, but
Yeah,
hopefully it's getting better with time.
definitely. Well, I think
Yeah.
that was it then.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you know when we're posting videos. Let us
Hmm.
know what you think in the comments. Do you think he should have been criminally sued? Uh, civil suits, how much is too much? Like, should he give away all his fortune? Should he have done more? You
Yeah,
know, like, who else could we sue? Like, let us know in the comments. We can address it.
yeah,
If you
for
disagree,
sure.
let us know. If you agree, let us know. But join us though. We see the analytics. All right. Thanks for joining. Till next time. Peace.